Greetings, I'm Mike Pachelli. For this lesson, we'll take a look at Georgia on My Mind, written by Hoagy Carmichael in 1930, and is most associated with Ray Charles. Ray recorded it in 1960 on his album The Genius Hits the Road, and the song became a major hit. Ray Charles had an illustrious recording career that spanned from 1949 to 2004. During those 55 years, he recorded blues, jazz, gospel, soul, rock, and country western. But if you asked anybody to name a Ray Charles record, they'd more than likely say, Georgia on My Mind. The original recording is rather complex, due largely to the lush string arrangement and production prowess of Sid Feller. It has some wonderful chord voicings and harmonic moves. The song has evolved through the years into a standard, and there are countless variations on its chord structure. Today, I'll do my best to keep the lesson close to the original 1960 version, making concessions only when necessary to facilitate the guitar. On a personal note, Georgia on My Mind is very dear to me. It was on the very first album that I was allowed to buy when I was a child. It was a Ray Charles Greatest Hits, and I still have the album today. Let's take a look at it. The intro is lush with strings, but we can emulate it nicely on guitar. You'll need these chords. G. Now for this G, I'm playing just the 3rd fret of the 6th string and the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th open. That G. And then G6, which looks like this, keeping the 3rd fret of the 6th string, 2nd of the 4th, 4th of the 3rd, and 3rd of the 2nd. G6th, first position E minor, which is everything open except the 2nd fret of the 5th and 4th string for E minor. C minor, played like this, 3-note C minor, 3rd fret of the 5th, 1st fret of the 4th, and an open 3rd. That gets me my C minor. A C sharp diminished, again a 3-note chord for the intro. Looks like this. The 4th fret of the 5th, 5th fret of the 4th, and the 3rd fret of the 3rd string. That's the C sharp diminish. An A minor 11th, which looks like this. You have the 5th of the 6th, 5th of the 4th, 5th of the 3rd, and the 3rd of the 2nd. Get you an A minor 11. And you need a D13 chord, which is played like this. So 5th of the 5th, 4th of the 4th, 5th of the 3rd, 5th of the 2nd, and 7th of the 1st, D13. Now I'll add some passing tones to play the string melody, and let me show you how it can sound. So what I'm doing is I'm playing the open G, and I'm getting a D and a B at the 3rd string. I'm sorry, 3rd fret of the 2nd string and the 4th of the 3rd. So on the G6th. So I'm sorry, to the G6th. See, it just fits. So now the G6th. Same 2 notes. The E minor. The 2nd fret of the 3rd and the 4th string to that C minor. Pause there, pauses on the record. Play the C sharp diminished. Same 2 notes. G again. And then 2nd fret of the 5th and 4th to the A minor 11th. I like to arpeggiate that, and arpeggiate the D13th. I'll play it again very slow. Up to speed, which isn't much faster than that actually. It sounds like this. And that's the intro. The verses are 16 bars, but really they're two 8-bar phrases with some chord variations. Now, there are a million routes one can take. Here are some additional chords for the first 8 bars to play it close to the original 1916 recording, but with a few inversions to make it more guitar friendly. G major 7th, looks like this. So you have the third fret of the 6th string, 4th of the 4th, 4th of the 3rd, and 3rd of the 2nd. That's G major 7th. To a B7 we'll need 5th string 2nd, 4th 1st, 3rd 2nd, open 2nd, and the 2nd of the 1st string for B7. Now another E minor, just a traditional E minor on the bar of the 7th fret. Put the 9th of the 4th and the 8th of the 2nd for E minor. Now a very cool chord, a D6-9 chord. It looks like this. That's the 5th of the 5th string, 4th of the 4th and 3rd, 5th of the 2nd, 5th of the 1st for D6-9. Then C sharp minor 7 flat 5, and that's 5th string 4th. Mute the 4th string. I'm muting it with the 2nd finger when I'm getting that C sharp note. Mute. And then the 4th fret of the 3rd, the 5th fret of the 2nd, and the 1st fret of the 1st string. That's a C sharp minor 7 flat 5 to a C minor 7, 5th fret 3rd, muting the 4th string again, 3rd fret of the 3rd, 4th of the 2nd, 3rd of the 1st, C minor 7. You'll need an E7 raised 9 chord. Looks like this. And that's the 7th of the 5th, 6th of the 4th, 7th of the 3rd, 8th of the 2nd, E7 raised 9. A minor 7th, which is basically just borrowing on the 5th fret and muting the 5th string. That's A minor. You'll need a D9. Inside strings, 5th fret of the 5th, 4th of the 4th, 5th of the 3rd, 5th of the 2nd. That's a D9. And then another B7, this one, 3-note. You have the 7th of the 6th string, the 7th of the 4th, and the 8th of the 3rd string. That's a B7. Move that down a half step. That's an A sharp 7. Move it down another half step. That's an A7. Okay, and then a D7 chord at the end. 3-note D7, and it's a 5th fret of the 5th, 4th of the 4th, 5th of the 3rd for the D7. Now the chord sequence for the first 8 measures is this. G major 7th to G 6th, B7 for a measure, E minor to D6-9, C sharp minor 7 flat 5 to C minor 7th, then G major 7th to E7 raised 9, A minor 7th to D9, and then the walk down, B7 to A sharp 7, A7 to D7. Now I'll play it for you. Sounds like this. You see I'm adding a couple little bass notes here and there, and you might want to, like when you're going from G, A to B maybe, just let your ear be the judge there. Maybe, bounce around on some bass notes. It's cool. And as you saw, I'm using kind of a hybrid picking technique. I'm using my thumb and fingers. And that's to try to best simulate a piano, which would strike multiple notes of each chord simultaneously. If you prefer, you can strum the chords with a pick. Just make it your own with whatever feels comfortable. Now, the next 8 bars of the verse are very similar to the first, but with a slight variation that has become the norm when many play the song. Now, new chords you'll need are F sharp minor 7 flat 5, which looks like this. That's a 6th string 2nd fret of the 4th and the 3rd, and the 1st fret of the 1st string. That's F sharp minor 7 flat 5. You'll need a B7 raised 9 chord. It looks like this. It's a 2nd fret of the 5th string, 1st of the 4th, 2nd of the 3rd, 3rd of the 2nd string. B7 raised 9. And we'll need a traditional C chord, just a bar C chord. So you bar the 5th fret of the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string, add the 3rd fret of the 5th string for a C. You'll need a C sharp diminished, another variation of the first one, where we're adding a note. It looks like this. 4th fret of the 5th string, 5th of the 4th, 3rd fret of the 3rd string, and 5th fret of the 2nd string. So that's a C sharp full diminished. C sharp diminished. You need a C over D chord, which looks like this. That's the 5th fret of the 5th string. Mute the 4th. The 4th gets muted a lot. 5th of the 3rd and 2nd. And 3rd of the 1st. That's a C triad over a D bass. C over D. An F sharp minor 11th chord, which looks like this. That's just a 6th string 2nd fret, 2nd fret of the 4th and 3rd, and then an open 2nd. That gets us an F sharp minor 11th. Okay. Great sounding chord. Now the chord sequence for the second 8 measures is as follows. It's G major 7th to G 6th, F sharp minor 7 flat 5 to B7 raised 9, E minor to D6 9, C to C sharp diminished, and then it finishes off with G major 7th to E7 raised 9, A minor 7th to C over D, G major 7th for a whole measure, and then F sharp minor 11th to B7. Now on that 9th measure, the G major 7, since it's the only measure that has just one chord, some sort of move or fill is usually played. Something like this. So you can hold it, perhaps, which I'm just playing G major 7, moving it up to C major 7th, B minor, A minor. We've talked about those chords. So you have to play something right in there on that 9th measure. Okay? So now I'll play the entire second 8 bars for you. And they sound like this. Well, now I think we should play the entire 16 bars of a verse. It's a lot of chords, but let's try to do the entire 16 bars together. All right? I'll do it very slow one time. And if you can play along with me, play along. So it starts off like this. Let's do it a little faster. The song's been played at so many tempos, but the original tempo is just a little faster than I just did it. So we'll do it together. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. That's the verses. The chorus sequence in Georgia is some of the most inventive I've ever come across. Here's the new chords you'll need. E minor, raised 5. That looks like that. 7th fret of the 5th, 5th fret of the 4th and 3rd, and the 8th fret of the 2nd. E minor, raised 5. E minor, 6th. Looks like this. 7th fret of the 5th, the 5th fret of the 4th, 6th fret of the 3rd, 8th fret of the 2nd. E minor 6th. And then we'll need another E minor chord that looks like this. Okay, now this one is 7th fret of the 5th and 7th fret of the 3rd, 8th fret of the 2nd, and 7th fret of the 1st. For this E minor 7th chord. And we need an A13, which looks like this. It's an open 5th fret, 5th fret of the 4th, 6th of the 3rd, 7th of the 2nd, and 5th of the 1st. A13. We'll also need an A13 flat 9, which looks like this. So that's it. Again, open 5th string, 5th fret of the 4th, 6th fret of the 3rd, 7th fret of the 2nd, and 6th fret of the 1st. A13 flat 9. Right. We'll need a B minor, which looks like this. Just bar across the 7th fret and mute the 5th string. B minor. We'll need an A minor 7th flat 5 chord, which looks like this. And that is the 5th fret of the 6th string. Mute the 5th string. 5th fret of the 4th and 3rd, and the 4th fret of the 2nd string. That's an A minor 7 flat 5. And we need a G sharp 7th flat 5, which looks like this. And that's the 4th fret of the 6th string, 4th fret of the 4th, 5th of the 3rd, and 3rd of the 2nd. G sharp 7th flat 5. And so the sequence of the chorus is this. E minor to E minor raised 5, then E minor 6th to E minor raised 5, then again E minor to E minor raised 5, and then that new E minor 7 to A13th. The second part is E minor to E minor raised 5, then that E minor 7th I showed you, the newer one, to A13 flat 9, B minor, E minor 7th, A minor 7 flat 5, G sharp 7 flat 5. So let me play it for you. It sounds like this, nice and slow. Great, isn't it? So now up to tempo. 3, 4. free to bounce it around with a bass note or arpeggiate it, any way you like. Just make it your own, but those are pretty much the chords you'll need. There's a cool build-up to the very ending. It's just holding of a few chords to create tension. The chords usually held for an entire measure each are B minor, flat 5, and E7 raised 9, or flat 9. Now this occurs in measures 7 and 8, where the chords are usually only held for 2 beats. Let me show you where I mean. So it's right here. Did you see where that was? So usually it just goes, but this time at the very end of the song they hold those chords, a B minor, flat 5, and an E for a whole measure. And then after that comes a walk up, which could just be a bass line from which is just, A, B, C, C sharp, D, or 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. Or you could do the same thing in chords, like A minor, B minor, C, diminish, D. And then finally there's some sort of finale or just a simple G chord, so it might go bum, 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 bum. Just do a G. Or it could be a traditional blues ending, like which is, that lick. You keep the 3rd fret of the 1st string and then walk down on the 4th string from 3, 2, 1, Right? Or maybe you can play something fancy at the end after, maybe like something like The point is to make the ending a signature of yourself. I think Georgia on My Mind is one of the most important songs to know on guitar. All the various moves and chord sequences can be used as substitutions in the blues and other genres. In my opinion, mastering the song is very important. I encourage you to listen to the original 1960 recording by Ray Charles and play along with it. The song form is verse-verse, chorus-verse, commonly known as AABA form. A being a verse and B being a chorus. The roadmap I gave you works quite nicely and may just possibly open your ears to additional melodic possibilities. I play Georgia at just about every show I do. It's the kind of song that centers me. Frank Sinatra said that Ray Charles was the only true genius in the business. It's hard to argue with that. Ray's version of Georgia proves Sinatra's point. Play the song with the reverence it deserves, and do have fun learning and mastering it. If you have any questions or would like to drop me a note, do so at mikepachelli.com. It's always cool to hear from you, and I answer every email. So until next time, I'm Mike Pachelli. Thanks for hanging out with me.